We live.
We are live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're coming to you live and direct this week. It's me, your boy Coco, and the good brother G. We have a
What's going on?
special episode for you this week entitled The Warriors in the Garden, where we are premiering our new show. G, what's up, my brother?
What's going on, Coach? Not much, man. Living life, looking at things. How about you? How's everything going with you?
Oh man, I got one of the best naps I had today earlier in a long time. Pretty
Okay.
refreshing. After a not so long day at work, I'm not gonna act like I did a lot of work today. That might have been why I was a little bit tired because I ain't getting the flow of everything. I don't know, but other than that, it's pretty much that quo. Maintaining, trying to keep my head above water, trying to transition from that from surviving into thriving mode all the way.
I hear
So
you. I hear
one
you,
step,
bro.
step by step. But other than that, yeah, trying to prep for this, doing a little research, checking out some current events.
A lot of people don't know this, but if you have the YouTube app on your phone, you could be using it to make $10,000.
Okay. So that must be part of the prep. Because a lot of people don't know this, but Ja Morant, Ja Morant has been in the news, and we definitely want to discuss that, brother. Unfortunately,
Yeah, this is like his second or third running, and it's crazy because he's not with the law. He hasn't. He had one incident, but this right here, he's not doing anything illegal. He just it may be a little bit immoral. There may be some moral things that are going on, but he hasn't broken the law this time, or even came close to.
Well, you said this time. Did he do anything last time?
There was like an alleged assault, like assault and like the threat of violence or something somewhere along those lines.
Okay, is that the 17-year-old boy that got punched?
There was that, and there was something in the club. There's a lot of little crumbs falling from his situations. Again, like there aren't any actual legal proceedings against him, any charges filed in this latest incident, but it is not a good look for someone who's making hundreds of millions of dollars and stand to lose off of this incident probably half of that just on a moral clause, because while he didn't do anything to break the law, he is employed by a private company. So, when you're employed by companies, they do have standards and codes of conduct and stuff that they want you to uphold. And for the most part, when we're not at work, they can't see if we're being good citizens or not.
Right.
But with social media and people want to be whatever they want to be when they want to be it, sometimes they broadcast things that they don't need to broadcast. In this situation, that's what happened.
Okay, but all right, I hear you, and I've heard other people speak on it. But from my understanding, it wasn't him necessarily broadcasting himself. He was in the company of someone, and they turned on their live, and then they had they showed him doing what he was doing, but it wasn't necessarily him like the last incident where he was looking like he was promoting like a violent lifestyle. So I don't know. I mean, he's a young guy. I believe he's like under 25, right? So if he's under 25, you're not even really that mature. Your brain isn't that mature.
Right.
You just living life. I mean, like basically like what you were just saying. He's pretty much in survival mode. And then he got a whole bunch of money. He's having fun. He's trying to enjoy his life, not excusing the behavior. We all have to mature at some point in life, and maybe that's the issue. Maybe he don't have an advisor. Maybe he need someone that is more mature to pull him up and show him how to handle life, dealing with the public. I don't think like anybody from the 80s or maybe the early 90s had to deal with YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or anybody going live, because they did a lot of stuff.
Definitely. Baby brain doctrine. Shout out to Honest-Leigh in the chat holding us down.
What's
Appreciate
going
you.
on, Honest-Leigh? What's going
And
on? We saw you earlier.
M on the check in. Mama K on the check in. Let's go. But yeah, so that's a you brought up some interesting points that maybe he needs somebody to advise him. And from what we know, he has the one thing that people always point to as missing in a black man's life when he does things, or a black woman's life when they do things that we don't think are the most immoral character. And what I'm speaking of is a father figure.
Right.
He has a father figure. His father's right there. He
Mm-hmm.
grew up, and from what I understand, in a what we consider a complete home, not a broken home.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it goes to say that we are our own people. So that positive role model being there, someone who was there and guided him and helped him get him to a certain point, that's exactly what he did. Get him to a certain point.
Exactly.
Then he has to let go, and then he has to decide who he wants to become.
Right.
So he has to either go left, go right, go straight. He has to fight or flight. Like he has to choose these things in all areas of his life. And it goes back to what you said. You're in survival mode, and then all of a sudden you get hit with the money of a thriver, and mentally you haven't taken that step and adjusted, and now you're trying to figure it out on the fly. And so people think that, like, we tend to think, we say all the time, if I could make this amount of money, or if I had this amount of money, I would be able to be. I'd be cool. That's what it is. I'd be cool, and then I'd
Right.
be cool. What does that mean? Because how do you adjust to being who you are now to who you become financially? But where the morally and emotionally and mentally, like, where did you mature at? You only matured financially, so then you see these things that any of us not. Nobody. Hopefully, somebody our age wouldn't do this, but we can't even say that because we ain't get that. We ain't get hit with that. So
Exactly.
it's
Got to
like we
experience it, right?
yeah, you got to experience it. So it's a great thing to think about. It's a great conversation.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it goes in a positive manner because I hate to see this young brother like mess up his career. And the crazy thing about that is he may not realize that even if he messes up this career, that isn't it. That doesn't mean that's who you are. That's just something you
Right.
go through. Like you can still come out on the positive side.
Yeah. I mean, and this is the thing. Everybody goes through growing pains, right? I know I didn't do everything that my parents taught me to do. And in some instances, that's a good thing. And in others, it's not so a good thing, and you learning how to be independent, living on your own, having your own money, managing that money, and still trying to be part of your peer group. Things that other people can do. When you got money, you can't necessarily just go to a mall. You can't necessarily just go to a movie, go out to eat. You're famous now, so now you need security. You got to make sure that you got somebody watching your back, and then you got to watch out for cameras. I mean, cameras everywhere. They're gonna catch you doing all kinds of things. So you figure it like this. I don't know about y'all, but I know me. I wouldn't want someone following me around 24/7 with a camera, because you're going to catch some sides of me that I don't want public. And that's just what it is. So a lot of people are going through that. And it's unfortunate he has to go through it in the public. Again, not excusing the behavior, you know, um, but this may just be part of his process. He going to learn today how to deal with this money, how to deal with um, everything that he's going through, and hopefully he can pull somebody else up. He could like, look, learn from my mistakes, and I'm pretty sure he got maybe, I don't know if the NBA brotherhood, they have people that come and talk to you. I don't know how that works, but I wish him the best. I know that much. You know, um,
Yeah, from what I understand, they do have like programs when you transition from college to the rookie
mm,
symposium. I think that's what they call it in the NFL. But I'm sure the NBA has a mentoring program and things like that. And just
okay,
the guys who came before him, Normally, if they've been through some stuff, they normally talk about it. But one of the key things you said, if you were famous, you don't want nobody following you around with a camera. Don't say nothing about the process. we gonna leave that for that's a whole nother show. Like it's still processing. Like,
we still trusting the process too. We still
not that process, but the process. Like
the process.
But yeah, so I seen a couple of the guys say, I think it was Steven Jackson say like, he made a point and he posted a picture of somebody. I don't know what their profession was. Oh, it was another former NBA player, and he was bearing arms and like, but he looked like he was in a tactical situation, like he was taking a stance, view, whatever. He was a white guy. And Steven Jackson was like, it's a problem when we do it, but it's okay when they do it. Sometimes that's true, but the picture you posted of the white gentleman, he was standing somewhere chilling and posing for a picture, not riding down the freeway with a firearm, being irresponsible. Like when people who are ever been to any type of training class when it comes to weapons, they tell you treat every weapon as if it was loaded. Boom.
Okay.
If you're going to do that, you're never going to put a firearm to the side of your own head. Like it just doesn't make sense. And he's rapping and doing that in the video and like just being careless with the weapon, which anything can happen. Especially, it doesn't look like he's trained properly. Because if he was, we would never seen. We wouldn't be having this conversation. Because if he was trained properly, he would have never pulled the gun out in the first instance. That would lead to the second instance. People who are trained to carry firearms and know how to operate them know you don't unholster it unless you're ready to put rounds down range. Like that's just how it is. It's not a status thing. It's not something you do for fun or for play. It's literally a weapon of destruction. So and it's meant to save your life and protect your family. If that's not what's going on, then why is it out? So,
beyond that, what about the role model part? Like I saw, we were talking earlier about a post that a young man put on Instagram, or maybe his mother put it on there for him. And basically what he was doing is he was showing Jai, what do you want us to do? Like looking at Jai as a role model. So they show a clip of Jai running down court, shooting a shot, and the kid watching it on the phone. And then also showing the kid out on the court and doing basically what Jai did. Then they showed Jai with the gun dangling. And then they went to the kid with, he didn't have a real gun, he had a Nerf gun, but masked up and everything, and basically did like the Boys in the Hood skit, Ricky, that whole thing. You can picture that. And then him getting out the car and laying against the car with his hands behind his back. And the kid basically making a choice like, I'm going to do this, Jai. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this. The more positive thing. So I don't know. I don't know about you. I've never been the type to look at celebrities as role models, like as guidance for myself. But I think a lot of people do. So the responsibility part, I'm not really I don't think it affects everybody. I'll put it like that. I don't think the responsibility part affects everybody, but it does affect some. And if you're going to affect some people, that still makes you responsible. The famous quote from Charles Barkley is what? I'm not a role model.
Not a role model.
I'm not a role model. But unfortunately, when you're in the limelight, sometimes we are role models, and sometimes even when you're not in the limelight, you see your kids doing some things that you do, and it may be those things that you don't want them to emulate, and you're like, hey, where you learn that from? And they like, I learned it from you, Dad. I learned it from you.
You remember that drug? It was like a weed commercial back in the day.
Yeah.
And the kid was in his room rolling up one, and the dad was in his room. Like, I learned it by watching you.
I learned it by watching you. That was hilarious. But yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, the role model conversation is an interesting one because, like, I'm not sure if Charles Barkley was the first one to say it, but that was 30 something years ago, and it's still a conversation to be had.
Yeah.
Because why is it that we in our community, in the black community, we look to people who are entertainers to be the leaders of our community?
Mm.
Playing sports is an entertainment, and then we look to the rappers, and so Ja Morant is on live rapping some. I don't know what song, but it was a rap song.
Mm.
So then there was the all the things back in the gangster rap was influencing, the children. So they say, but I remember Jay-Z had a line where he said Scarface the movie did more to me than Scarface the rapper.
Right.
And so it's it's crazy that like we're having this conversation and it's really specific to our community, whereas like the music, the athletes and stuff, they are the ones that because they made it out, I guess that's why they're role models. But there
Mm.
are people who have made it out in other areas that we don't know or we don't even celebrate. Like
Right.
right
Well,
now, there's a project in New York with two black people working on it in real estate and development. One is Don Peoples. He's a billionaire, black
mm.
man. The other one is Cheryl McKissick. She's like her family. She's a sixth generation uh, developer, I think, like through her company that her great grandfather or great grandfather started. And she's worked on the biggest projects in New York, like LaGuardia Airport and things like. But we don't know these people. And
Not
these
at
people
all.
been around and they have real like impact and real wealth. Their wealth isn't tied to them being able to perform on screen in a studio or on a court or something like that. They
Right.
literally built businesses and went through the hard parts and built sustainable businesses over time. But those are the people that should be role models, but they're not. So
Okay.
it's weird that in our community that's the thing.
I think it's weird, but I think it's also a tradition. Reason I say that is because like the black and white pictures we got around us, right? On the back screen. When you think of famous people or role models or people talking on our behalf, the only two from the 60s that I can actually think of off top, it would be the two main is Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. But besides Malcolm and Martin, you had Muhammad Ali, you had Jackie Robinson, Dick Gregory, a lot of these celebrities were the mouthpiece. And I'm guessing because they were celebrities, they had the platform, you know. So because they had that platform, because they were a celebrity, they not majority of them, just some were obligated to be leaders, to show dignity, to show, um, yes, I made it out, and no, I didn't forget where I came from. You know, so I think because of that tradition, is something that we haven't let go. And honestly, I don't remember anyone ever touting like inventors or first open heart surgery person that did, like you didn't see that. I didn't know someone was, I think it's Garrett Morrison or Morris, I forget the last name unfortunately, but he made the traffic light. I didn't know that. you know I find out this stuff as I mature, as I gotten older, but the celebrities I've always known about. I knew about Dick Gregory before I even knew what he looked like.
Right.
So it's like, that's I think it's a tradition that we have to get away from, you know. And maybe this platform can be one of those platforms where we do, highlight those people like you just highlighted,
Well, I
give
think
them information.
the point you bring up are great because I think it goes back to the one thing people always say: representation matters.
Right.
So when you talk about us not knowing who the black inventors were, I only knew about them during Black History Month when I had to look up something for black people who contributed to society in a positive way. So then you
Mm.
go find the Charles Drews and Marcus Garveys and old head at your school, Frederick Douglass. You find these people, Freddie D. You go find
Freddie
about these
D.
people and their contribution to society, and then you talk about it then, and then that's kind of it. And it's like, oh, okay. The rest of the year, all you're doing is seeing people who are in the spotlight, who, like you said, who have the platform because of performance. But there's a huge like gray area or gap from the entertainers and which is sports and music and all that, but down to us people who are blue collar workers, and then in between there are people who have built like regional. There are people locally who have built businesses in every major metropolitan in America that are of color and are
Right.
successful. There are people who have expanded regionally and actually have regional situations where they have, spanned over a couple of states. There are black owned banks and stuff like that. Um, what is on Broad Street? What is that called? Progress Plaza? Is that the name of the actual plaza on Broad Street that was
It's
started
on.
by the
It's in
politician?
North Philly. Right.
Yeah, like the one politician, like black guy, like he decided he wanted to start that plaza and do things like that and bring the stuff to the community. Like, but the fact that I don't know his name off the top of my head, like that's a problem. But I can tell
Right.
you what Charles Barkley did. I can tell you what Jim Brown did, Muhammad Ali, because they were in the limelight. So I think we need to focus on like highlighting people on our level or that came from where we came from and figured out how to make it out, because the make it out thing is really a thing.
Right.
But why do we have to make it out versus making it better?
Mm.
Like,
That's funny. I had that conversation with my dad when he and I. Dad, if you're watching this, is not a diss at all, but we from the bottom. Um, that's not so great place in West Philly. At least it wasn't growing up. Now it's University City, so it's rapidly changing. Um, Gentrification. But this what's happening is my dad bought like 10 acres in Jersey, and it was a good price. I say excellent real estate deal, very good. He definitely started from the bottom. And I remember saying this as a kid. I'm like, well, it's cool to move and get a nice place. And he wanted me to move with him. You know, schools in Jersey, are way superior compared to Philly. But I'm like, all my friends are here. I know none of the people over there, and I'm not trying to leave. I would prefer to make it better. Like that's what made me think about that, because you just said that. I prefer to make it better. Why we have to move? Because things are not like we want them to be. Why can't if you got money to buy somewhere else, why can't we buy our block and fix it up? You
why
know.
can't the better question is why can't we see the value in our block? Because everyone else does.
Mm. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it makes sense. It's definitely a cycle. Some folks move out, some folks move in. Value depreciates, and because it's a depreciating asset, you come in, you buy low, so that you can sell high. You know.
But one thing that hasn't changed ever since we stopped seeing the value in our community and ourselves, we haven't been the merchants of the community. Like, once
That's
think about whenever you remember Mr. Whoever that you knew in your community who owned. Think about where do we
on the
go get
corner
hoagies?
store.
Where do we go get hoagies from down the bottom? Rebs. Remember the hoagie
Red.
shop?
Yeah.
After,
Wait,
like,
what block was you? What block was
I
you
was
from?
around the corner, man. Literally around the corner. 39th Street. Rebs on 39th Street.
Yeah, Rebs, and then Mr. Jooms. They
Yeah.
had it. Mr. Jooms. He had the corner store.
Yeah. So when they
All right.
left, what happened? After they turned over, those stores turned over into Spanish stores or something like that, and then you got the Asian stores. Like, you gotta look at. We always had beer distributors on Lakers Ave, right?
Always.
They were never, since in my lifetime, owned by black people,
Stop and goes.
right? All that stuff, donut shops, all like everything. It wasn't owned by us. So
No.
everyone else saw the value, or they saw the dollar signs. They didn't necessarily see the value, because I don't want to misspeak. They didn't see the value in us. They saw the capitalism in our community, and that's part of the problem. If we just saw the value in our own community and we own these stores, built these businesses, that would make the communities a little bit more whole because there would be a sense of pride. Like we're literally trying to get out of there because we have no pride in where we are because we have no ownership. I think ownership leads to pride and leads to dignity and leads to things that we're talking about. Like then we're not looking for a role model to be an actor, a rapper, or an athlete. We could look at, hey, Mr. Duckett, they've had that family store and
Mm,
they for 3 generations and they
right.
well taken care of. Everything is nice. Like, how can I be like them?
I get what you're saying, but I think personally the crab in the barrel mentality stops us from getting to that point where you are seeing that somebody has something you don't have and you championing them and their family and trying to acquire the knowledge on how to do the same thing or do something similar. That normally doesn't, at least from what I've seen, it doesn't normally happen, and it's a myriad of reasons why it probably doesn't. And I'm hoping that's something we could address on the platform as well. That's true. Look at how people treat rental properties and cars. That's true. Trash them, right? Like
Right.
gunning that joint on the highway.
But yeah, I've had this conversation with many people, friends, and people that I was close to. And when someone asked them something about where they got something, this is crazy. It'll be like a shirt or some sneakers. They'll be like, I don't know. Lie to the person's face,
I don't know.
and they'll be like, I don't want them. I don't want them to have the same thing I have, sir. That's a Nike shirt. You know how many people have that? Like, no, cause and I'll be looking like, oh, all right. And I said it recently. I was like, listen, I'm gonna give you the ingredients. I'm gonna give you everything, but you're still not gonna probably be able to produce the way I'm producing. You're not me. So even
Yeah,
if I tell you how I built my
I tell you what.
store from
I tell you
whatever,
to buy this Nike shirt. You ain't gonna
yeah,
wear it like I'm gonna wear it.
you're gonna do it a different way. And
I'm
guess what?
gonna
I'm
do it
fine with that.
exactly.
Literally happened to me a couple weeks ago. I went somewhere. I had on a t-shirt, and the guy was like, "Oh, I like that t-shirt." I was like, "Oh, thank you." I said, "I think I got it from." I named the store, and I was like, "You know what? The best part." I leaned into him to make him feel good about what I was saying. The best part, it glows in the dark, right? So he like, "Oh," I'm
Secret
like,
sauce.
"Yeah, yeah, there you go." So if you wanted to, here you go. Go forth and prosper, my brother. Now go on that journey. Now I
Go
had bought
ahead
the
and
shirt.
glow in the dark, my
I bought
man.
this
Glow in
shirt,
the dark.
you know, years ago. So maybe it's there, maybe it's not.
What
I
up,
don't know.
Daytona?
She said hello. Hey, what's happening? And
This
like
is one on
listen,
one couture.
one on one couture. Like, listen, that she's being honest. Like she's not lying. Yeah, just ask Lee about so, hey, what is it? Huh? Like that's crazy. I mean, that's just me because I feel like
This is made
for
by
one, it's
Jesus
not.
and is adorned by angels. I know
Yeah,
where you
like
can tell you to get this from.
if I made it, I'd be like, I made it. I didn't make this, so I feel like I'm just being little bit petty, as they say. If I'm going to withhold information about something that was mass produced in a sweatshop, like, what am I doing?
Well, I'm gonna give you all a sidebar. If I say I don't know, it's not that I don't know, I don't remember. Because a lot of times I just be going different places. It ain't that I don't want you to have it. I really don't remember. So
Oh
when
no,
I
I've had conversations with the person after they say they don't remember, and they'd be like, "Yeah, right down the street at on." Like they
okay,
knew exactly where it was at.
oh man, that's
They
messed
was
up.
like, "I got it from right there." They're
That's
like,
messed
"I
up.
don't want them." And I'm like, "All right, that's cool." But I
Dang,
just
so what you think that is though? I mean, like,
what you said. That's why I brought it up. You said the whole crabs in a barrel thing. I think that's related to that. Like you
oh,
feel like when you find something and it's yours, you feel like it's yours. You take ownership of it. So
mm,
that could be true in certain instances, but in the instances that we're talking about, like if we find a way to make it better and to cut time off the process and complete the mission in 2 years instead of 7,
mm,
why not share the information so the next person doesn't spend? So it took us 5, and it was
Right.
supposed to take 7. But we realized that if we did this, it would have took 2.5 or 3. So why not come to you and say, hey, I know what you're trying to do, especially if I know you. If I
Right.
don't know you, I don't know what you're trying to do. But if I have some knowledge of what's going on, I say, hey, here's some game to help you out.
Right.
And
Right.
take it,
Right.
you take it. If you don't, you don't. Another thing is a lot of times the same thing is going on with the people who are trying to get there, and they don't want to take the advice because then they feel like they're indebted to you because you gave them some advice. I had to figure it out on my own. No, you didn't. There was answers right there you could have got that could have took you where you wanted to take you, but you're like, oh no, I had to figure it out on my own. I think both of these things on opposite ends of the spectrum are pretty much related to the same crabs in a barrel mentality, where you feel as
Mm.
though because you're put in a situation like let's be honest, crabs aren't meant to be in a barrel. We weren't meant to be put in underprivileged neighborhoods and
Right.
that turned into ghettos. So it's like out of having to survive, you adapt different strategies and how and
That's
mentality things like that.
that's what it comes back down to. It comes back down to survival and having this false sense of urgency and time and limited resources. Like things are so limited that I can't tell you how to make some money because if I tell you, then you're going to be my competition, or you're going to partner with them, and then you and them are going to be my competition. Meanwhile, you got McDonald's on one end, Burger King on another, and Wendy's, and they all eating, right? They all got customers, all got people coming in. But for some reason, the mentality is when it comes to us, um, resources are limited. And if I show you how to come up, then the only result of that is that I'm not going to be able to come up to, or I'm going to be halt in my process, and I'm not going to be able to rise to. And the beautiful thing of Warriors in the Garden is that's what we're trying to reverse. We're trying to figure out how do we reverse that thinking. How do you change this independent, isolated thought of economy, um, how to be a father, how to be a husband, how to nurture the community. How do you change all of these negatives? How do you recognize them? I guess first identify them and then recognize that they have to be changed. That's a good question. Do we even think people if you're in the chat, could you answer that question? Do you even think that we are recognizing that these are some issues that we need to change? That us versus them mentality, or that I versus everybody mentality. You know, how do we correct that? How do we address it? You got any thoughts on that, Marcus?
Absolutely,
Oh,
I think it goes back to what we talk about all the time with introspection and self-reflection and things like that, and being self-aware. So when you're in survival mode, you really don't have time to be self-aware. Most of the time you ain't thinking about what you're thinking about. You're literally
mm,
just trying to get through to the next thing. And so you come up with what you think is a system, and you work that system and that schedule over, wash, rinse, repeat over and over again, and because it's bearing some fruit. So in order to see that it's not going to bear the most fruit, you actually have to step back and assess the situation in totality. And I think that's what's going on. We're not doing that because we're all in survival mode. And so in order for the community to thrive, we have to get out of survival mode. And
mm.
that it takes us to collectively um uh, like take a chance, take a healthy risk to trust each other. I think that's what's really absent
Wow,
is we don't trust each
that's
other. And I think part of that is because we don't trust ourselves. So if you are
mm,
confident in who you are and trust in who you are, then I think it's a little bit easier for you to go out there and present yourself to other people and then trust them until they offend you or until they betray your trust. We operate in the
what
opposite.
no, go ahead. I
Oh
was
no,
reading that.
I was
I'm
saying
like,
we operate in reverse. We make people, earn our trust, which it should be that way, but you should have no reason to distrust them. So that's what I want to say. A lot of times we distrust people instead of like just making them earn more trust. We just come out with the distrust, like I don't trust anybody. I don't trust my mama. Like, and it's lot, and all of it is embedded. Like these issues are all embedded in some form of trauma that we didn't address. And as a community, we're all in a traumatic state, have been in a perpetual traumatic state for years. So there's so much going on that we need to address. There's so much that we need to unpack. But I gotta, pay the light bill. I gotta feed little Junior. I gotta, go to work. So we don't get time to detox from everything, take a deep breath, and then exhale at some point, and then move forward.
Right. I agree. I'm gonna read the comment from Lee. I think we do see it at times. I just think that we don't do the work because we're down programmed, lazy, or the ops. That might be true. I mean, I think like what Lee said, and then what you said, it happens. We get traumatized. Times things happen to us, not just once but twice, and then three times. And what ends up happening is because you've been so times, sometimes by the same people or by the same people that look similar, you have what I would say is a healthy, cautious attitude. And then sometimes that becomes calloused over. And then it's like, I don't trust nobody, or people, or how I say sometimes, because I've been hurt. And I don't know anybody that hasn't been. Um, People sometimes can be real crappy, like just all about them, all about what they can get, all about the manipulation, so that they could get what they desire, and not necessarily about service. I think if we could reverse the mindset, and like if I'm in service to you and you're in service to me, who loses out? Don't
But
nobody lose out.
who's gonna take the first initiative step to be in service? That's the
That's
problem.
the whole thing. That's the part. Is it takes, and we talk about this again. We talked about this before. You said not trusting people, and the reason that you don't trust is because you've been hurt, and the reason that you can't trust is because you've been hurt, because you don't want to be vulnerable.
Right.
And to relate, because when you're vulnerable, you have to take the first step to test the waters, test the waters and see if it's going to pan out. Like, is this going to work out? Maybe it do, maybe it don't, but it takes a lot of strength to be vulnerable enough to do, like you said, take the first step, and see if it pans out. I give people many chances, I ain't no sucker. I'm not, I'm not going to be hurt, but so many times, is that space is limited. It's a limited amount of people, and that's like blood, family, uh, children, wife, like that area is for them. Outside of them, I give people a lot of chances, and I look, and I'm like, okay, is it me? And then talk, have a conversation like that. Like, look, what's going on? This is how I'm feeling. That's something else we don't do. We don't express how we feeling. Well, I'm feeling some type of way. Well, shoot, if you're feeling some type of way, you ain't talking about it. How they gonna know? how they gonna
Right.
have an idea of how you feel? And you not trusting them and they not trusting you leads to that same syndrome, the crabs in the barrel syndrome. We both pulling each other down, trying to hold each other down so we can get up. But our motivation is off. The motivation is to not let you get up instead of actually I could boost you, man. I give you a boost and get you out the barrel. Give me a
Right.
boost, get you out the barrel, and once you out the barrel, you promise to lift me up. Like,
You promise.
yeah, like, yeah.
How
I mean,
far
but
how far does a promise go?
you gotta be vulnerable enough to take the first step. Take the first step. I'm gonna
Take
give
a
you a
hefty risk.
boost. Healthy risk. Now, if you don't pull me up, guess what? I'm in the same situation. Didn't anything change except for you not in the barrel to pull me down anymore? You know,
Hey.
sometimes you got to learn to cut them losses, man. You know, okay, you got over on me. Cool. I give you a for instance. When I was what, like 18, 19, maybe 20, I was trying to buy a house, saved up all my money, put this down payment on it, went with this lady because she looked like me, and she actually knew my father. Gave her a G. Um, Took me to see a couple of houses, and somehow or other, the houses never worked out. Long story short, she kept my money.
Oh
And
wow.
I was like, man, now for like a 20-something-year-old, you like $1,000? Like she just took my $1,000? You know, things is running my head. I was like, well, if I react like that and I get locked up, then what do I really lose? Is $1,000 worth my freedom? Is $1,000 worth my wife not having a husband? Is $1,000 not worth my children having a father? I think I got off cheap. I don't got to deal with the lady no more, you know.
Right.
And the money was so little. When I talked to a lawyer, he was like, you're not going to recover that much money, you know, just on fees and stuff like that. You're not going to recover a whole lot of money. So, what you want to do? I'm like, all right, it is what it is. But karma, the lady just happened to be in Walmart one day. Walked up on her. I said, hey, how are you doing, Miss? Blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to say her name because I remember her name because people that steal from me, I never forget. I said, hey, how you doing? And she didn't know where she knew me from. And I was like, you don't remember me? I said, you helped me look for a house. You remember you was with University Realtors? You remember you helped me look for a house? I said, we never got to see that house, though. We never got that house. I said, and I never got my money back. And I just stood and looked at her. And she had the ghost face, man. It was like, what is he going to do to me? She was stuck. And I just said, you have a nice day. Be blessed. And I walked away. But she was petrified. Now, in my head, I'm wondering, how do you live with yourself? You know, you see a young brother trying to provide for his family, and you get over on him like that. I didn't understand. I didn't understand it. But you know, if I
Right.
don't trust again, and I don't get another realtor, now I don't own the house that I own currently. That's my point. Like you still
Right.
got to test the waters. You still got to try new people. You know, you still got to be open to being hurt, and all that leads back to you got to be vulnerable in order to get out of the situation. You can't cut it off just because it didn't work out. The first one didn't work out.
Right. It's all a part of the human experience and living. Like you have to take these chances, get hurt, get up, dust yourself off, and go at it again. Um, people don't.
Right.
People. We talk about karma a lot in our community, but we don't realize that like
Mm.
these little things, like not wanting to share information, or being uh, petty towards each other. Like if you believe in the law of attraction and universal law, which is where karma comes from, you got to understand that you're pitting out bad energy. So if you're putting out
Mm.
the little bit of bad energy you're putting out, it's still, if you believe in that stuff, it's still gonna come back to you. So if you're like you said, somebody's got to take the chance to trust and be in service, and we be in service to each other, then we can grow. But also, if you sitting here tooting the karma horn, why isn't every decision that you make, or everything that you try to do, it isn't good just because, just for, if it's just motivation yourself because good will come back, which I don't think that's how it works. I think if you do good because it's the right thing to do, then
Mm.
you will get it back. But if you're just trying to if you're counting your own blessings, hoping that they add up so that when it's time for you to get blessed, you're like, look, I got 782. Like, what's going on? Like,
Let's get this back.
like it should be a way of living, and a way that you things that you believe in. Like you all got to check and see what we believe and what we stand for. And I think those things will help us grow and move forward. And a lot of the cliches that we have through music, uh, no new friends.
Mm.
There's the bros over thing, and
Those bros over
yeah,
those.
bros over pros. But you're out here chasing the pros, but you tell them it's just a lot of stuff that we subscribe to. It makes no sense.
I
And
mean,
so
it don't, but it do, and what it don't make sense. I agree, but I think it do because I feel like we're all out here looking for guidance from something or someone. That's why we into astrology. That's why we into multiple religions. You know, and when I say into multiple religions, I'm not down on religion. I believe that you should have a relationship with the Creator. Like the religion doesn't help. It's the relationship with the Creator. The religion is the thing that you actually do. um I can religiously brush my teeth, or when I had hair, brush my hair. I want waves, so you religiously, now if you had waves at one point, you have to religiously brush your hair to get them waves. They don't disappear with one or two brushes. You got the way, you got a system. Go on YouTube.
in some cases they don't, but some of us were lucky that they just were there.
Okay, all right. I guess he tooting his own horn. Look, you can see my beard hair will disagree. My beard hair is like, ooh, shoot. Let's not even talk about the chest hair. Oh man. But anyway, I'm saying
Anyway,
religiously, some that you can religiously do anything, but it's more important to have a relationship with the Creator. Whoever you choose to call um your higher power. I choose good hair and taco meat doctor. Yes, yes. I'm definitely taco meat. Taco meat. I'm not good hair. I'm not good hair.
yo, it's just hilarious. I mean, oh man, that made me lose my train of thought. I was going somewhere a minute ago off of something you said.
It's cool. It's cool. I mean, we
Uh,
we, we finding our way, and hopefully we can help you find yours. So
absolutely.
hopefully we can have that conversation so that we can help
Exactly.
each other find our way.
Hopefully something sparks the interest or sparks the light in somebody and makes them, want to be better. But I was thinking of what you said. We all seeking validation in different ways, and a
Mm,
lot of times we don't even realize that we are seeking validation in the
mm,
things that we do. And so, and it comes in many different forms. Like it could be, your parent, your father or mother saying, I'm proud of you for X, Y, and Z. It could be your friend saying, "Yeah, f him." You
that's true.
like there's it could be that broad spectrum. Like you could be feeling some type of way, venting about something, and I'll be like, "Yeah, G man, that's that situation. Let's go." And you like, "Yeah," and then in your mind, you're validated, and it's not even like you're going, "I'm validated." It's so deep in there, subconsciously, you're like, "Oh, okay, cool, yeah." So I wasn't wrong,
That's
and then
validation right there. They calling to let you know.
validation card to let me know.
Hey man, yeah. I just want to let you know you valid. Yeah. You valid. Number one. In my book, I don't care what they say about
Right. That's hilarious. I'm like, I knew I turned my ringer off. That wasn't a ringer. That was an alarm. That's why it went off.
you. Yeah. It's the
But
alarm
yeah, that was
validation.
like you said. I'm talking about validation. There we go. Validation. Hit me up. Right there you
Yeah.
go. But yeah, this is a pretty deep conversation that can go on for ages because it's like so many different avenues, and especially when we talk about our community, like it's so much going on and so many different levels to this ish. You know what I'm saying? So we could dive into this every day, probably for the next 3 years, and probably still be having more stuff to talk about because it's ongoing.
Yeah. I mean, and that's basically where we're going to get our topics from.
Right.
'Cause everyone, for the most part, is wired and desires to be seen, heard, known, loved, and accepted. I believe that. I believe that to be true. Everybody wants to fit in. Everybody wants to get in where they fit in. You know,
Absolutely.
you want to be loved. You do want to. You do need a hug. I'm a loner, but I love being loved. But
Yeah. Like
I don't have no problem being alone though. But I
right.
love being loved. You know, when you
Yeah.
walk in the room and people are like, "Yo, what's going on?" Like when people make you feel like you Norm on Cheers, like hey, I'm giving you the secret sauce. If you want to see a smile on this black man face, I come through, you be like, gee, it's instant. Like, you talking to me? You talking about me? Oh, what's going on? Give me a hug. You know, so that's instant for me. And I don't know. I think that come from childhood because like being the only grandchild and stuff on my father's side, or the first, not the only, but the only for a couple of years because everybody was born with me. And you come in the house and it was like Roger, like you had that feeling. It's like, yo, you know what I mean? You know what? Come on, yeah. And you ain't did nothing special but walk in the door.
You just being you. You come
Just
and get
being
high
you.
fives everywhere.
High
Everybody.
fives, hugs, all of that stuff. I missed you. Dang, you saw me last weekend. I was just here last weekend. You missed me like that?
That
Like,
wasn't enough.
exactly. So it's like, who wouldn't want that? You know what I
Right.
mean? Appreciation, validation, to be seen. It's a great feeling. Actually, I think that's why babies do a lot better with stuff that goes wrong with them, and not like staying down because you rarely see people not show interest in a baby. Somebody walking
Mhm.
with a baby. Oh, let me see the baby. Let me have to be. Oh, it's so cute. They in the baby face. You know what I mean? They're showing interest. And that is the memories that I have not necessarily been in somebody's arms, but being so small that I felt like everybody was giants,
Right.
and how they treated me, like even though we're so much bigger than you, you're still an important person. Like coming in the door, you're an important person, and I think that carries on as you get older, and we just don't think it does. But at some point, you're no longer the cute kid, so you seeking validation in other ways. You're doing other things, and for some kids, unfortunately, it could be negative behaviors, and they want that attention, so they do negative things. It's not necessarily that they want to do something negative; they might just want that attention. They want to see you. They want to hug you. They want some type of interaction if they're not getting enough. You know.
In some cases, they may have seen negative behaviors in the
Oh
home
yeah.
or and on TV. Nowadays, it's like sensory overload with the phones and the amount
Everything.
of information that the amount of things that kids know at 7 or 8. I didn't know till I was like 13.
Man, you ain't said nothing. You 100% right on that one.
Can't slow it down, and it's like we drowning in the information, trying to like like not get lost in it. And we're grown, and we're like, wait, what's going on here? What's this new app? And what's this? And kids be right there with it. They be
Shoot,
experts.
our apps and our way of looking things up was Encyclopedia Britannica.
I had one of those. I definitely
like,
had one of those.
okay, you want to learn about such and such, you got to go look at or go to the library and use the Dewey Decimal System
Do they
to
still
try
have
to
it?
find try
Do
to
they still
find
have
some.
books in the library? I've
I
never
don't
been to
know.
the library.
I haven't. My son went recently, so he bought some books home. So they definitely got books, but they
Okay.
got DVDs. They got all kinds of things in the library. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. But
Mm,
it's interesting, like you said, with the sensory overload. There's so much information to be had that it's like, what do you do with it? Are you actually using it? Are you doing it? Do we?
dude.
Are you actually using it, or is just there? And like people always say, like knowledge is power, and it's like if knowledge was power, then why aren't we more powerful with this supercomputer in our hand? I think the correct thing to say is application of knowledge is power. Like you could have it, but you got to be able to apply it. You got to be able to use it. And a lot of times I think that's what's going on with all of this stuff. Like my man Ja, I don't know him like that, so Ja Morant, he has the knowledge to know that what behavior he's displaying is not necessarily the correct thing to do. However, does he know how to apply that knowledge? Do he know how to cut people off that are putting him in a negative light, a negative like, look, you got a gun, I got a gun, but we're not on live with our guns. we're not doing that. It's like you said, it's a certain way that you behave with a weapon. You know, he may have the knowledge, he may not have the knowledge, but we're gonna say he do have the knowledge because he got the same phone that we have in our hands.
Absolutely.
But the fact that he's not applying the knowledge is the disconnect. The difference between knowledge and wisdom.
Right.
Mm.
Knowledge, you can acquire all the knowledge you want, hoard it and accumulate it. The wisdom is when you know exactly when to use it and not let it go to waste.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, we shall see how things go in certain situations. Our economy is falling apart still.
I mean, the dollar, they saying it's not worth anything.
I mean, it's never been worth anything, but
well, yeah, that's true. But I mean, like, it's different when you got people ganging up on you and saying like, your money ain't nothing no more. We're not gonna use your money.
Your money's no good here.
It's literally no good here. We're gonna change that. But once it become all digital, what we gonna do?
So that's the thing. Like, what's the incentive for it to become all digital? How do, like, not saying that it won't happen, but how do they still control everything if it's all digital? How do they still regulate it if it's all digital? I think that's what's slowing up, and that's what's keeping things from going, especially with what's going on now and the things that happen in Ukraine and things like that. Just my opinion. I think that because they haven't figured out how to regulate it, just like they haven't figured out how to regulate marijuana, it's still not completely legal everywhere as far as marijuana goes. And I don't think they're going to adopt a whole complete digital currency society until they figure out how to regulate it, because they got to get their cut, and then who's gonna be the authority in that space?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I mean, I don't think the central bank is going anywhere.
Absolutely not.
I think what they do with anything that they roll out is they try it somewhere that is anywhere but here, see how they're doing it, and then they tweak it. I don't know if you saw that clip where they were trying to do the digital currency, and it was somewhere in Africa. I can't remember where specifically, but they were doing a digital currency there, and they basically did it so they gave them. First, they said we're not using the old, let's say the old dollar. We're not using the old dollar. We're going to use this new dollar. And then, all right, people switched out their old money and got the new dollars. Then, when they were in the process of switching it, they limited how many new dollars you can get. And people started complaining like, oh, we can't get these new dollars, blah, blah, blah. So then after they couldn't do that, they said, you know what? We're just going to go digital. We're going to do digital currency. So the frustration is like mounted. People are on social media and like, our government is starving us. Our kids aren't eating. We can't do this. We can't do that. We can't live life. I think they said that they needed 400 of their dollars a week to live, but the government was only giving them 40. That's 10 times less than what they would normally give them, so they could force people into actually using the digital currency. What we
You see
got
the
here?
comment?
It says Toronto was the pilot city for digital currency. Okay, all right. I didn't know that. That's good to know.
I didn't know that either. I just started hearing about digital coins probably 2016, 2017. And then
Mm,
I did research, and it's like Bitcoin was around years before that, years prior to that.
right, right.
So it's here we are. Let's say it's been 10 or so years, or 12 or so years since it's been in its inception. Now the U.S. government has their own coin, their own digital coin. they have. I don't think they've released it, but it's like Fed Coin or something like that.
Right, right.
Um, very unattractive name. So we'll see if that stays like Fed Coin. Like, what does that even mean? But
Nobody likes the feds. Like,
exactly.
that's not
Uh,
going to catch.
so yeah, I think they're definitely trying to figure out the situation, and at some point they're going to move to it. But it may not happen while we're out here, spending our ducats. We may not happen. We may
Don't do that. Don't spill your ducats.
we may not be out here anymore when they actually go 100% digital. But it's a very interesting situation, and the way things are going is like they're resetting. The reset of the world economy is crazy, and the reset of the American economy is even crazier because we're seeing all these things that saying if banks falling apart. Um, I saw something today that said the commercial real estate market has declined for the first time since like 2011 or 2012. Like prices in commercial real estate have gone down because of the high number of vacancies,
Yeah,
which
that makes sense.
which I think are probably underreported, like everything else in this country. They say, "Oh
Yeah,
yeah, 20% of buildings in New York are vacant. Commercial buildings. It's probably really like 40 or 50% or higher. It could be, but
yeah.
yeah. So we're seeing a lot of things go on that don't make no sense, especially to us because we're not in the know. And it
Mm-hmm.
goes back to taking pride in ownership and being a part of the community. Because once we learn how to be a part of our communities at a healthy rate, take healthy risks, then we can be a part in the world community at a healthy rate by taking healthy risks and being knowledgeable and understand what's going on. But we got to start small. And so I think, conversations like this and people actually doing the research, and you see sister in the chat putting information about where first digital currency was the first pilot city. Like, these are the conversations we need to be having amongst ourselves, and
Mm-hmm.
then we need to take these conversations into our homes, these
Right.
conversations into our children, into our nieces and nephews, and so that they can be versed in these conversations and go out into the world, go out into our community, and be a part of the situation, and not know, because there are so many things. So many times I used to watch TV or watch the news or just hear something and not know.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't know what they're talking about, and it's not something that was like rocket science. I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm never going to know that. But when it comes to, to the economy and what's going on, I think as we strive to be good citizens and build good communities, I think these are the things that we need to pay attention to, and we need to prioritize education over entertainment. I think that is one of the things that has been a detriment to our community for the last 50 or 60 years. Um, Specifically, like it has started happening more, and then like now, like we have all these things to distract us and keep us entertained,
Right.
but find some educational content, like especially on these platforms, you have to literally go search for it.
Yeah, you
The
do.
ratchet TV and stuff like that is the negative programming is presented to you and it's thrown in your algorithm. You watch one thing. You watch something positive, you still gotta like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to do that while you're
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And then you start to get positive things and you start to get educational things. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I was in my 30s before I actually started reading books.
Yeah. I hear you.
That's because that wasn't prioritized for me. Now I know people that read books when we were teenagers. They found value in that. I didn't. I
Right.
didn't see nobody doing it. I didn't understand why I'm gonna read a book for. Like, what's there? I
Yeah.
remember,
It has to be something interesting. I've never read books for pleasure. like fantasy, sci-fi, nothing like that. But you give me something on I don't know, miseducation of a black man, or you give me something like on sex or sexuality or something like that, psychology, anything along those lines, I'm all in. But it has to be something of interest, for or spirituality, or like my devotional, something like that. I'm into it. But for entertainment, I don't know. In my head, it's like that's what TV is for. No, I'm not downing anybody, but that's just how
And I
how
think
I
that's
view
because of how we grew up. We grew up watching TV to pass the time, and it's like,
it.
so now it's not for these kids. It's not TV. It's tablets and phones.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
device they have, whether it's a Nintendo or whatever portable device,
I
can
forgot
be
about that.
connected to the web. Like, so they can literally all the things we used to sit down in front of the TV or have to do like this, sit in front of a computer to do, they're on the go. Like, it's all on the go for them. So I think, yeah, with the amount of information that's out there and how easily it is accessible to all of us, it's really, you're really doing yourself a disservice when you say I don't know and you really haven't tried to figure it out. But you will go on social media and watch somebody live about whatever they got going on. You know what I'm saying?
That's
And
true.
share it and then comment about it and then you talk about it. Or the shows and every day. It seems like people watch Power every day. I don't know. I know they don't. I know it comes on once a week. I'm not, obviously I don't watch it. But literally I go on social media every day and there's something connected to Power. I have seen nothing connected to what's going on. Like I said, none of the stuff that we're talking about today. And these are conversations that we gotta have.
Yeah, yeah, it's necessary. I mean, but I guess you got to put it in your algorithm in order to get it coming across your screen, and whatever you seek, it's going to find you. And sometimes, if you're seeking something negative, it's going to find you 10 times before the positive thing finds you again. So it's about what you're desiring to look into. Um, so financial literacy, that's something that I know you're big on, and it's definitely something I'm big on. So that's something that I'm gonna search. That's something that we're going to be talking about. Um, you know, mental and emotional health and welfare of men. How do we improve? How do we step our game up? How do we guide people younger than us into being able to I missed that. What did they say? Bring that back up. I knew you were illiterate when I met you, Coco. Wow. 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 Joking. Okay. I was about to say crabs in a barrel. Crabs in
Listen,
a barrel. You can't
from
make
then
this
to
up. You
from
can't.
then to now, the baby steps. Listen, it all starts with baby steps. So she's not completely wrong. I'll be honest.
No, no, she completely wrong. She said illiterate. Illiterate means you can't read a lick. You can't even read cocoa. You can't read the word cocoa. You remember the episode on the Cosby's when Sammy Davis Jr. was on there, and she was like,
Uh-huh.
"Do you spell your name? Your name is John or Tom? Yeah." She said, "Do you spell that with 2 R's or one?" And he was like, "Two." And I was like, there's no R's in Tom, man. No. It's like, it's crazy how stuff flashback, but that's how it works in my head. TV, things that I used to watch, I related to, and I'm like, and you just said that earlier. I mean,
Hmm.
that's how we relate to things, especially the Cosby Show. For me, I ain't gonna lie. I Claire and Cliff. You know, I'm not talking the real person. I'm talking characters. I I I I saw out a relationship like that. That was a positive relationship between the black man and the black woman, and I was like, man, I want that. I don't just want that, and I want that lifestyle where my kids are well spoken. My kids are living in a nice home, and they're doing great things with their lives. And you got one kid that's a little you know, a little spacey and doing their own thing, but you know, you're gonna have that. But
that's par for the course.
yeah, you can't come up and not have somebody that's gonna be a little off course. So,
Exactly.
but anyway, um, being that this is new, I'm loving.
Shout out to you, brother Jameson. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
But yeah, and on that note, I think we are coming to the end of our first segment.
Yeah.
I thank all of you guys for tuning in. And so this is going to be a regular segment that we do. It's called The Warriors in the Garden, where we're going to focus on men's issues and different perspectives and how we view things. From time to time, we'll probably add a guest or two on. We're working on a series called The Miseducation of the Black Man that we will be going through here in the near future. I hope y'all can tune in. Again, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Please don't be afraid to comment. Follow us on social media. Most of our handles are our socials. So you can
Mm-hmm.
find us on Instagram by looking up our handles on the screen. And thanks for coming out. You want to say anything, G?
Man, this is the first episode. I didn't think about a closing, man. I didn't think about that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna not forget to have a closing for you next week. So make sure you tune in. See
2
you
weeks.
next week. Oh, dang, 2 weeks?
Yeah, we gotta take a break. They gotta let it marinate and then put some more, you know what I'm saying? Some more
All
shrimp
right.
and Barbie and
All
stuff
right.
like
So
that.
we're gonna let it marinate, and we see you in 2 weeks.
But don't forget to love God, love your neighbors, take care of yourself. Peace.
Peace.